Hello and welcome to That Nerd Thing, where we uncover the magical impact that fandoms have on our lives. I'm Morgan, and for today's episode, we are talking to Max and Megan, the hosts of the podcast Vigilante Vibes, where they break down all things Marvel, MCU, and nerd culture. So naturally, I had to have them on an episode of That Nerd Thing.
Hi.
Thank you both so much for being on the show. I was so excited. You both have been so thoughtful and welcoming and kind, and it's clear that you're cultivating that in your community.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
So I like to start out the show getting an idea of your nerdy identity. Are you ready for the questions?
Yes.
Bring it on.
What is the first thing that you were both nerdy about?
That's a good question.
Pokemon.
Pokemon?
Yeah.
Mine was probably Avatar: The Last Airbender, the original animated series.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's a good one.
That was the first.
Were you both huge fans of those nerdy things?
Yeah. I feel like you get very, very obsessive once you start to find your inner nerd. Like with Avatar,
Yes.
I nerded out hard on that too. That wasn't healthy, but it was so good.
I feel like it's that like first thing that you really latch onto that you can't stop talking about, and that's where that inner nerd really comes out for sure. Like when that's that passion that you find something and you just click with it, I guess.
What about your favorite nerdy thing?
Well, that one I think is a little easier. I think mine is definitely Marvel for sure. MCU.
I would say Marvel.
Yeah, you both made a podcast about
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
favorite nerdy thing. I love that. Yeah. So I am not a super hardcore Marvel fan, but I'm starting to get into it. It's like Marvel's huge, and I'm sure there's fandoms within the fandom. Where do each of you fall with like your favorite fandom within the fandom?
I would say Max is more MCU, so the movies and the shows. I'm also very
Definitely.
heavily into the MCU, but I also love the comics too, so I fit a little bit of in all of them. But then there's fandoms inside the comics and inside the MCU, like this person was better at being this person, or this writer was better at making this comic or this run. So I feel like I'm a little bit in all of it.
And I definitely tend, like Megan said, to lean more towards like the cinematic side of things. I think just really, for me, it's comic book movies in general. I've just really always loved and just have always captivated me in such a profound way that has just kind of led to all of this. So it's been a pretty magical journey, I guess, so far.
It's so cool how it really is a universe in itself. So do you have a favorite plot line or story or character?
I definitely have my favorite characters. Like right now, I guess I would say, and I think these have been my top for a while now, but I love Moon Knight and I love Scarlet Witch. Those are my two favorite characters. Favorite plot lines, though, I think that the whole Infinity Saga as a whole really just did such a great job of just tying everything that they had built for so long together, and that just was so beautiful to me. And I always knew they were kind of going into that direction. So just to kind of see it finally come to that conclusion was just so just so satisfying, I guess.
Yeah, because that was years in the making.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I think mine is Spider-Man Forever. And I think plot lines, I'll do comic books. I think my favorite would be Devil's Reign and Secret Wars right now, but it's subject to change by the second.
Oh, yeah. I could definitely see it
Ooh.
changing over time, depending, especially just where you are in your life, what you resonate with.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very true.
I still love seeing, when I'm scrolling on TikTok, the reactions from people seeing the last Avengers movie and just the screams and the claps and the cheers. I love that. I love the community that comes from watching these things together. I'm popping in with a quick spoiler warning. If you have not seen Avengers Endgame or Spider-Man No Way Home, please fast forward the episode about 1 minute and 25 seconds.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, since cultivating this Facebook community that we have, MediaVerse Comics Unwrapped, finding that community has really been so great. But you're so right. Like, I feel like it becomes just a part of the experience when you're watching it in the theater. For example, like during Endgame, when we see Captain America pick up Thor's hammer, that's just, it's those little payoffs that just make it all worth it, sitting through all these hours of movies and shows and things, and just getting to be a part of that crowd, especially on those opening nights where everybody is just like their jaws all hit the floor at the same time and you're all just looking at the same thing, and you feel just an energy there. It's electric.
I love that.
And you really can't recreate it. It's like an Endgame when everyone stood up in the theater and started screaming and yelling. I've never experienced that in a theater. That was something I'll never feel again because it was just so big. But then in Spider-Man No Way Home, when Andrew Garfield came through, when Tobey came through, well, actually, when Charlie Cox came through, everyone, there's just always there's always a different sense of excitement. Like Charlie Cox, that was a sense of, okay, they're going to keep using him as Daredevil. And then you saw the nostalgia with Tobey, and then the excited that he's finally getting his flowers with Andrew Garfield. It's always different, but it's always so cool to see.
Yeah.
True.
Tell us about your Facebook group.
We are a community of 50,000 Marvel fans navigating the multiverse together, one MCU project or comic book at a time. It is a non-toxic community, so we try to keep all of the negativity that usually comes with social media out of our group. We try to keep it a good place for discussion, to be able to share your opinions without being attacked, and some place that a lot of people can consider, a safe place for them to be able to discuss and nerd out without those harsh judgments and weird internet trolls that come out of nowhere to attack you for the littlest thing. That's kind of the foundation of what we've built, for sure.
It's inviting of all nerd culture, so we're not gonna kick you out if you post something DC related or Avatar related. We're welcoming of all. You can't really be inclusive and not let in what geeks other people out. So we're just very accepting of everything except toxicity, obviously.
I love that. That's really what drew me to both of you and what I really loved about what you have created. So the first thing that I was really nerdy about, and you'll see where I'm going with this, was Harry Potter. I'm sure you've heard of the toxic stuff that has been going on in that world, but I really think Harry Potter's, the community has taken on a world of its own. But it is really common in these fandoms to have these people who can be toxic and judgmental or criticize you for not being the best fan or try to gatekeep different fandoms because they don't think you necessarily belong there. So I really love what you're creating.
Yeah, 100%. It's very true.
I was still also very obsessed with Harry Potter, but it's like you said, the toxicity in the fandom and J.K. Rowling herself, it's a lot. It sucks because it's just it filled your childhood with so much magic and it all just came crashing down. It's horrible. I hate it. I could go on for years about this.
Oh, it's crazy how things have turned out with Harry Potter. Because, me too. Honestly, I was kind of debating whether to say Avatar or Harry Potter when you first brought up that question. Because, it's true. I mean, one of the first book series that I ever read was Harry Potter, as a kid. And it just, those movies meant so much to me. I remember going to see them with my family. I think the first one came out when I was in kindergarten or first grade, so it's one of those things that kept with me until high school when they kept moving up with those, or they kept making those films. I definitely understand.
The fandom now in the community, it really has made Harry Potter such an inclusive space. What is the thing that you're currently nerdy about in this moment?
I will say my current nerdy thing is actually X-Men the animated series, because Megan has challenged me to watch them all before the new revival, reboot, whatever you want to call it, comes out soon, next month. So that is my current thing that I've got going on.
Cool.
That makes me so happy. I haven't gotten any new nerdy things, but I'm really obsessed with Harry Styles right now, so that's happening. He's just so hot. Oh my God, he's so hot. Oh.
What is the most underrated nerdy thing about you?
I can read music really, really well, and I didn't have to practice to do it. I just did it.
Wow.
That's really impressive.
I know. No one knows.
Do you play an instrument?
I played a clarinet and the bass clarinet, and I sang.
Wow. Well, look at you learning about each other on this show. I love it.
I know. Oh my God. I didn't know Megan played the clarinet. That's amazing. Do you still play? Do you have a clarinet at your house?
No. My kids, my kids would use it as a bat. I know it. I don't trust them.
Most underrated nerdy thing about me. This is a really tough question. I'm trying to think, what's underrated about me?
I know.
I feel like I put all the cards on the table. Oh, yes, please.
Okay, so because you only see him online, you don't understand that Max has this wild sense of style. He is so it's like talking to an actual People magazine. He just I love it. I think
Bless
it's so
you.
cool.
Apple paying you now for the compliment. Thank you.
Aw.
Yeah, you know what? Whenever I go to like Marvel premieres, I do try to put together like looks and I do try to like style based on the film. So yeah, that's wow. Okay, that was a good one.
I
Thank
love
you, Megan.
that.
Welcome.
That's so cool that you take the experience and you really expand it. It's like I love that.
Yeah, it's true. I do.
What is the most random nerdy thing about you?
I really love when I can see food in shows and TV shows and I like to recreate it at home, like to the closest that I can get it. And I know this sounds like really weird, but like for example, when in Captain America Civil War, they had like a little scene where Vision is trying to make chicken pepper cash for Wanda. Like I spent so long trying to get the perfect chicken pepper cash recipe and just to make it like look exactly like in the film. And the same thing with the recent season of Loki that came out when they had that radioactive looking key lime pie. And I was like determined to make the perfect key lime pie that would be exactly like the one that we saw in Loki. So that's kind of something that I like
I
to
love
do.
that.
He did that, and it looked delicious. Like I was really hungry. I have a Spider-Man tattoo.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah, it's all the way on my ankle, and I can't bend that way, but it's there.
So is it of Spider-Man?
That's super cool.
It's Spider-Man's face with some. Oh, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna. I want
It's
to.
actually a Madam Web tattoo. Spoiler alert. It's a Madam
don't.
Web tattoo.
Don't start that rumor.
All right. So I'd love to talk about your journey into fandom. I'd love to hear not just about your journey into fandom, but your journey into finding each other and starting this Facebook group and your podcast.
Yeah, it's been a wild one for sure. I mean, me personally, I always felt like I was really into these things. Like I mentioned, Avatar: The Last Airbender or Harry Potter, or the different things that I've come across and become obsessed with as growing up. But I always felt like I didn't fit in with the people who were into those things. Like I always felt like, especially with being into comic book movies and comic book things, like there was always a certain masculine gatekeeping that kind of was incorporated with those things. Same with Star Wars, for example.
Yeah.
So I always felt like I had to nerd out in private. Like I always felt very not super welcomed in those spaces or whatever. Someone would be having a conversation about those things and I'd like kind of jump in like, oh yeah, they'd be like, oh, I didn't realize you were into this, or I didn't know you knew so much about Marvel. I've literally had people tell me that. And it's crazy. So when I came across this group, MediaVerse Comics Unwrapped, that Megan and I have now taken over, it just felt like home because the group was founded on the principles of non-toxicity. And Megan and I have kept those pillars of our community alive and made sure that everybody feels that. It just felt like somewhere where I could be myself and I could be interested in these things without having to deal with that gatekeeping or having to deal with the toxicity or being ostracized for being, a gay man interested in something that is typically for straight men. The community meant everything to me, and finding that was just life-changing, obviously. And just joining the admin moderator team, being able to help to cultivate the space was so incredible and just such an honor. And then I remember when we finally had Megan join the team, and her and I we clicked instantly, I feel like, and we've become just serious partners in crime, and we've just become such like the best of friends, and it's been amazing. And obviously that spun off into us taking control of this group and us forming this podcast, and it's been amazing. It's been a journey for sure.
And it's really feels like it's just now kicking off, which is weird because it's almost been a year. But we recently rebranded from MediaVerse Unwrapped to Vigilante Vibes. So now it feels like ours now, like it's more authentic. But yeah, everything Max said, because it was not common for a girl to like Spider-Man or care about Iron Man. It was like, why are you into this? And, you had to buy all your comic book t-shirts in the men's section because they didn't make women's clothes for it. And it was nice to find a place where there was other people like me who have felt gatekept for so long. I remember seeing Captain America, the First Avenger in theaters. There was barely any women, and it was pathetic. Just a bunch of guys. No offense, guys, but I like women to be there too. But now it's nice to go, and it seems like people who were gatekept for so long, like the LGBTQ community or women or people of color, that they're showing up to these movies. They're excited about them. They're proud to be fans. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
It's true. Times have changed.
I didn't realize you two took over the Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Its creator stepped away. So he put Max and I in charge. Well, he gave me the group, but Max and I are in charge because you can only give it to one person. We run it. We do everything. And there's 5 groups in this MediaVerse community, which is the meme group, sports group, music group, and arcade, which is all things gaming. And it is a lot of fandoms. There's a lot going on all the time.
It's a lot to do, for sure.
How did you come up with the idea for the podcast? What was the light bulb moment?
Well, that's a great question. So the podcast kind of came about when we entered a program at the end of 2022, leading into 2023, called the Facebook Community Accelerator Program. And basically, Meta, the organization who runs Facebook, chose us out of a bunch of applicants to invest in creating the next prominent communities on Facebook. So they tasked us with creating a project that could emphasize our community and also help to promote engagement and just more of a sense of community and belonging with our members. And we were just kind of brainstorming, what could we come up with? What could we do? And then the idea of a podcast just popped into my head. And I was like, Megan, do you want to do a podcast with me? And I was like, I think this would be a great way to connect with our members. It'd be a great way to kind of give our group an actual like physical voice and, you know, an actual physical medium for people to watch, while also helping us to branch out across like the internet and, you know, to these different things. And she was like, yes, 100%. She was right on board. And we both kind of worked together and created this little podcast that could. And it's just been growing and getting bigger and crazier it feels like every week. And again, I keep saying the word journey, but it really has been a journey because creating the podcast and conceptualizing it and getting everything set up and introducing it to our members, it's been a lot of work, but it's been very rewarding for sure.
We also weren't even allowed to call it a podcast because Facebook doesn't have a podcast feature. So we had to call it a talk show. And we hated it. We died inside every time because they don't have any kind of feature to assist that. They said, so are you just going to go live in your Facebook groups? And we were like, yeah, of course.
Yeah. That's what it is.
That's what we're doing. No. We do go live. We're actually going live this Saturday.
We do.
Like once a month, the last weekend of a month, we go live. And that's really just to connect with the members and get to know them more. And it's also super fun.
Yeah.
What is it like for you to do a podcast about something that you both so deeply love?
It's, to say the least, amazing. I mean, it's kind of like getting an hour out of the week to discuss your favorite thing with one of your favorite people. I mean, really, it's a great outlet. It's, again, because, you know, I don't have a ton of friends who are into this stuff in real life. So getting to do this podcast and even getting to interact with our listeners, like when they send us in comments, and we like to do a lot of Q&A, and, you know, we like to read our members' comments on our show and get their reactions to different things. It promotes that sense of community, I guess, that we talked about earlier. And it helps us to kind of get that engagement and get that feeling of being together, even though we're all miles apart. So that to me has been the most rewarding part of it, for sure.
Yeah, the topic of our podcast being something we love, it makes it super easy. Usually the hour we spend talking, it goes by so fast. And then at the end of it, I'm like, oh, I should have said that. I wanted to talk about that. It's something that I look forward to every single week. It's my favorite part of the week.
Oh, that's so wonderful. When I created this podcast, I wanted to talk to people about the things they're nerdy about. And what I've just been learning more and more is that everybody really has this community around the things that they're nerdy about. And for so long, people really isolated nerds. And I just think it's so great how we've all sort of found our groups that we fit into.
It's very true. And, you know, I feel like these mediums nowadays, like I know social media definitely has its good parts and its bad parts. I feel like one of those good parts is getting to, you know, from the comfort of your own house, just a couple clicks on your phone or your computer, you can find groups and places to chat with other people who are interested in the same things that you are. Like podcasting, for example, when people listen to us, they know that they're not the only ones thinking these things. They can kind of hear their own thoughts kind of projected in our podcast and hear us discussing those things. And it helps to make them feel, I think, a little bit less alone, and definitely gives them, like I said, that sense of community and that sense of engagement, for sure. Like just other people out there that are interested in the same things that I am. You know, it's that triumphant moment.
Yeah, because I would have killed for a Marvel podcast in high school, after high school, freaking middle school.
Yes.
How I think of it is like, this is what I would have wanted to hear as a very isolated nerd.
That's true.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
What is the fandom like? Like, how would somebody know if they should maybe join this fandom?
If you have a tough time joining the Marvel fandom, just come to us at MediaVerse Comics Unwrapped. We will help you see the way, because the fandom is a scary, scary place. It is not easy, especially if you're LGBTQ, if you're a female nerd, if you're Black, any color, just, good luck.
Yeah, it can be rough.
Yeah, and I feel like it gets more and more toxic by the day. Just all the go woke, go broke comments, or the MCU, which makes me want to punch a hole in a wall. It's not the majority of the fandom that feels that way. And I know it does seem that way, but they are the loudest minority of the fandom. There's so many other people that are accepting and excited for changes and inclusivity. You're not alone. I promise you that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, everything Megan just said is one of the main reasons why our group was created and why we have worked so hard tirelessly to maintain the atmosphere and the environment that we have. So that way, everybody, if you're just joining us because you just watched your first MCU movie yesterday, or if you've been a longtime fan and you're just looking for a place that's not full of toxic internet trolls and people who attack you for having an opinion about something that isn't necessarily widely accepted amongst the fandom, that's one of the reasons why we have our Facebook community, and why we also with our podcast, why we always are spreading just those non-toxic vibes and making sure that we're always super non-biased. We're always extremely careful with our reporting to make sure it's all accurate, because we know there's a lot of people out there who like to spread misinformation on purpose and like to bully others, or like to spread bad things just because they can on the internet and in the wilds of the internet. So it's one of the reasons why we have the community and why we've created the platform that we have, because we've definitely felt that there was a need for it.
As somebody who's newer, I've watched movies over the years, but I've gotten more invested in the stories and the connections over the past couple of years. But as somebody who's newer, I look at the Marvel universe and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is massive. Where do I even start? Is it too late to get involved? Do I need to go back to the beginning? Like, what would you say to somebody like me?
I feel like there's definitely a certain amount of catching up you would need to do to understand the whole picture if you wanted to do the whole thing. But I think that there's a lot of standalone stories that are great to just kind of help you jump into things like that don't necessarily need a ton of going back and rewatching. It's something that you can kind of just jump into, and then if you want to go back and slowly do that, you can. There's standalone stories like Moon Knight or Miss Marvel or Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Werewolf by Night, that's a good one.
Yeah, just to get your feet wet with the whole thing, just kind of finding a project that interests you. And then once you get into it, and you may think like, oh, I wonder what they were referencing, like when they said that. And then let me go back and try and see what that means. And let me start watching Iron Man just to kind of see where that goes. Now, if you wanted to start the whole thing, definitely, I always recommend starting with Iron Man, a classic. And it's mentioned as one of the greatest, not only the greatest comic book movie of all time, but definitely it's one of those films that's highly regarded as being one of the ones to look at when you look at 2000s, 2010s films as a whole. It's definitely one of those cornerstone entries into that I think is definitely worth a watch all on its own.
So basically you're saying just find some standalone ones, and if you're like, oh wait, I want to learn more, then go watch some of the other films or TV shows to get that backstory. But also, it's okay if you don't understand everything on the first watch, because you can always go back. I'm hearing that too. Like, you don't have to understand everything the first time you watch it.
I never do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I always have to rewatch. I never pick up on any Easter eggs, nothing. But I think if you're just getting into the Marvel fandom and you want to be into the MCU, if you have a certain character you like the most, you can see what movies to watch to lead up to theirs. And that should kind of trickle into other movies that may catch your interest. Or you can just look up on YouTube a quick video. Why is this person important? What does this person do? Just to get a little bit of knowledge to jump in. That's on our podcast when we talk about, like we just talked about Madam Web. We describe all the characters, who they are, who they were in the comics, how they're important. So we try to make it where you're not completely lost if you have no idea.
Yeah. That's important to us too. Yeah, for sure.
I also love going on Reddit.
Oh, that's a good one too. Yep.
That is good.
Be a dangerous place, Reddit, but it's great place for information.
How has the fandom changed your lives?
That's a beautiful question. I feel like I've gained friends like Megan. I feel like I've gained community and a feeling of belonging a lot of the time when I'm watching these films that used to be such a solitary experience. And, as getting involved in this fandom and this community and doing what we do, it's opened up a world of possibilities and connections and meeting people, which has been great. Like you, for example, too, with this podcast, like, meeting a lot of great other podcasters recently as well. So it's given me more purpose. I mean, this has honestly become kind of like a second job for me, and it's taken on a whole life of its own. And it's been beautiful.
Aw, that's so sweet.
I would say purpose. When I was asked to join MediaVerse Comics Unwrapped, I was just a pregnant mom, just doing pregnant mom things. And I even said no. And
You did.
Yeah, I was talked into it. And here we are now. But I would say as a whole, it's made me less toxic. Because looking back, I was like, dang, I was rude. I was mean to people. Good Lord. When you're bullied in a fandom or anything, you automatically go in defensive at every point if you're talking about it. So now I think it's kind of showed me to be more understanding and like hear someone out first rather than just assume, oh, you're sexist, you're racist, you're this, obviously. So I think it's changed a lot in so many things of my life, but I think that's a big one.
What have been some of your favorite moments in the fandom?
I'm back again and popping in with another quick spoiler warning. If you have not seen Avengers Endgame or Spider-Man No Way Home, please fast forward the episode about 40 seconds.
This is a good question too. I think we talked about it a little bit earlier, but those moments after years of watching these films, seeing Captain America pick up Thor's hammer, or when the Spider-Man No Way Home movie came out and seeing all three Spider-Men that have played this character in the past come together at one point on the screen, that was beautiful. Seeing how the fandom actually like mourned Iron Man Tony Stark, spoiler alert, when Tony Stark Iron Man dies in Endgame, how we all were like mourning this fictional character that the actor's fine, but the character's dead. So it's just those moments of like coming together have been really nice.
I think for me, it's been when I see an actor just nailing a comic character, like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. That's who I envision Spider-Man to be and act like and have the mannerisms. That's who I see it as. So no matter what happens in the fandom, if it's something tragic, something beautiful, you do see a lot of people coming together and support. Like, rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman. But when he passed, you saw a lot of support, so beautiful support for his family, for him, for his art, for even the Black community. It was something really, really powerful to see because you saw 4 or 5-year-olds who had Black Panther action figures, and it was just nice to see the fandom all support each other during something like that.
Yeah, oh, that was so devastating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely was. And it came out of nowhere, which was the craziest part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was rough.
Speaking of Tom Holland, it's so funny. Anytime anyone mentions him, I just think, there's one video that no matter whatever I see it, I stop and watch it. I'm wondering if either of you know the video I'm talking. Yeah.
I think I do. I'm going to let you say it.
When he did the lip sync battle to Umbrella. Yeah. Oh,
yes.
Yep.
Oh my God.
I knew it was going to be that.
Yes. 100%.
I strive for that security of myself. That was incredible. Oh, and it was just like him and Zendaya. If they ever break up, I quit.
I know.
Everything.
I'm so attached.
They're so adorable. I know, same.
Yeah. My happiness shouldn't depend on them, but come on.
Yeah, that is one clip that, like you said, like no matter what I'm doing, like if I see it, like I have to, like even if like I've seen it a million times, it's I don't know, something about it just brings me so much joy. And just seeing him, he's so passionate about what he does. He put everything into that lip sync battle. He was determined to destroy Zendaya. He was holding no prisoners. He was going to win, and he definitely did. And just seeing him just showing so much more than just the fact that he can be Spider-Man, that he can dance, and he put everything into that performance. He was so convincing, and it was awesome.
Yeah,
I loved it.
It was so great. And it's that confidence, that security, and their relationship. It's adorable to watch. And have you been seeing all the clips and the interviews from her lately? Where she's like, what would I bring back from England? And she's like, my boyfriend.
My boyfriend. Yes, I love it. Her whole Dune press tour has been amazing, and seeing him like waiting for her at the end of like the night, and paparazzi's catching up with them, and he's like helping her into the car. It's really cute. I love it.
It is. And like when they're walking down the red carpet and he's taking pictures of her, and everyone's like, Tom, you're famous too. And it's like,
I know.
He doesn't care.
That's adorable.
Have you met any celebrities?
I wish. No, I haven't.
I'm supposed to meet Charlie Cox next month.
Ooh.
And Charlie Hunnam, Ron Perlman, and what's his name? Who's Anakin?
Oh, Hayden Christensen.
That's the name. I wanted to say Andrew. I don't know. Yeah. So, because I'm going to Awesome Con in DC and Galaxy Con in Richmond. And if anyone's in Galaxy Con Richmond, I will be doing 2 panels that you guys should check out with Nerd Initiative. So
cool. Congratulations.
So exciting.
Thank you. I don't really know how to do it, but I will be there. I've never done it before.
Just be yourself.
I'm so excited for her.
That's amazing.
It might get weird.
What would be different in your life if not for this fandom?
I feel like for me it'd be a lot more boring, that's for sure.
I think a lot more reality TV. Like, I really think I'd be into that Real Housewives of whatever. I really do think that.
Yeah. The only thing I can truly say is that I think like my bank account would be a lot happier if I wasn't into this fandom. That's the only like positive thing I can think of, but
It's true.
What does being a nerd mean to you?
I think it's being very loud about something that you're passionate about and excited about, because you could be a nerd about anything. I can be a super nerd about the Kardashians, which no one likes but me. I like it, so that's what I think.
I definitely don't think it's just you.
So true. I know, that's true too.
Well, everyone I know, because I get made fun of for a lot.
See, that just comes with the territory, right, guys? Just being made fun of for the things that you love.
Yeah, just embrace
I'm being gatekeeped.
Yes.
I'm being Kardashian gatekeeped. I'm using this.
To me, I think it's really about that passion. It's that drive to just love something so fully and want to know every minute detail about it and have those things around you in the form of merch and keeping that passion and what draws you into it and that interest alive. I think that is really what it's all about for me.
So being loud, being passionate, and just embracing your interests.
Yeah, for sure. Being a part of a fandom, no matter what craziness you may see online, it really is for everyone. And if you love something and you're passionate about it and it makes your day and it drives your interest and you can't stop thinking or talking about it with anybody who will listen, that is a beautiful thing. And don't let anybody tell you that it's not. Enjoy what makes you happy. Don't be apologetic about it. And no matter how annoyed people get with hearing you talk about it, if it makes you happy, it makes you happy. And life is too short to not enjoy those things. So always embrace that part of yourself, no matter how old you get, no matter where you are in life.
Yes, 100%.
And if people are making you feel awkward or bad about being excited about something, you're with the wrong people. Go find people that will care for you and let you feel the way you want.
They're out there.
Yeah, those people are definitely out there.
We're right here.
Yeah. and listen to previous episodes of That Nerd Thing to see some other fandoms you might be interested in exploring. I want to jump into our geeky recommendations to help people embrace their nerdiness. And I'm so excited to share my recommendation. So my husband, a few months ago, he's like, I want you to watch this show with me. It's my favorite series ever. We have to watch it. And I was like, okay, fine. And so we just finished it last night. I'm still very emotional over it. It was so good. And I'm so excited that we are recording today because the timing works out perfectly. I'm curious if you both have seen it because it's not considered canon in the MCU universe. Legion.
Ooh, Legion is a good one.
It is really good.
My heart.
It's a good one.
When my husband first suggested it, I was like, okay, but was it canceled? Does it have an ending? because my pet peeve is watching shows that don't have endings, and I can't stand it.
Same. I'm the same way. I hate that. Drives me nuts. I'm happy that nowadays like that happens a lot less. But back in the day, it was like you would get so into a show and they'd be like, "Oh, it's just canceled." You never get to know. Oh my god, I know what you're talking about. Yes,
I know. I couldn't deal with that. And he's like, "It has an ending," and it does, and it's such a beautiful show. And I really recommend that everybody check it out. So you two, have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yes. I saw the first season. I didn't keep up with it. I didn't see the second season of it, but I love the first season. It's such a unique show. And especially when you put it in the context of comic book movies and content, it was such a well-crafted series and touched on a lot of different subject matter that you don't see a lot, like mental illness and different things like that. So I thought that was really cool. And it just, and the storylines and the twists and yeah, I now you kind of make me want to go back and finish it.
Yeah, it's only 3 seasons. I think 26 or 28 episodes. I don't know, but it was so good.
I think it was ahead of its time for comic book shows. Like, if it came out now and it was canceled, 100% another network would have picked it up quick and finished it and kept going.
So what do the two of you want to recommend to help people embrace their nerdiness?
Ooh, this is a good question. You lots of great questions.
Well, thank you. That's what I was hoping for. It's like the best compliment whenever I hear, "Oh, a good question."
I know. You're throwing me with these.
You're nailing it. You're doing great.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you.
I would say it's on Hulu. It's called Revenge. It's technically Marvel. It was made by Marvel. That I just found out a few months ago, and I've been rewatching it for like 10 years. It is so good. I know it looks like if you just look at the poster, it looks like a Gossip Girl kind of thing. It's not. Mm-hmm. It is fantastic. It is incredible. And I gotta rewatch it again, and I just finished like 2 months ago. It's so freaking good.
Yeah, my sister recommended that to me. I haven't seen it, but I'll add it to my list.
It's so good. You got to do it.
I'm learning so much about Megan today because I didn't know you liked that show, and it's one of my favorites. I love Revenge. Oh my god.
I swear we have talked about this before.
We have? Oh my god, have we? Oops.
It was like the same day we found out we both love Gossip Girl. And
I love Gossip Girl also.
I was there.
Oh, me too.
I swear to God, that's one of the best shows ever made.
I love soapy shows like that. Yes, I love them. Oh,
yes.
Desperate Housewives is something I've been recently rewatching. I don't know if you guys are fans. Yeah. That's one of my recommendations for sure. Desperate Housewives. I'm like on the second to last season. It just reminds me so much nostalgia comes with rewatching these things, especially when they're older shows like that. Oh, it's the best. But as far as recommendations go, if you're looking for something that doesn't necessarily need to be, like we talked about earlier, super connected to the MCU or to the Marvel universe, and you still want that superhero feel, you want to get a little taste of what Marvel's all about, I would recommend the Daredevil TV series. Mm-hmm. That's a really solid one on Netflix. And actually, I'm sorry, not on Netflix. It used to be on Netflix. Now it's on Disney Plus. And they're actually reviving the show for a new season that's coming out, I believe, next year. So that's a great one. Again, don't have to rewatch 20 movies to understand it. For the most part, at first, at least, it's a self-contained story. And then you can kind of branch out to the other related shows they created afterwards. So that's a really good one as well.
Cool.
Have you seen it?
I have not, but I'm excited now, especially if it's getting revived.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, all the Netflix Marvel shows I thought were really great. If you're not a big superhero kind of person, the Punisher series, I thought it was top tier. It was excellent. So if you're into like the guns and the action and all that, that's your best choice. And it's self-contained.
Ooh, these are great recommendations. Well, thank you both so much for being here. This was so much fun, and I really appreciate you both being on the show. So thank you.
Of course.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. It was fun.
Where can people find you?
Okay, so you can join our Facebook group at MediaVerse Comics Unwrapped. We have a public Facebook page, MediaVerse Plus, that represents all of our MediaVerse groups that we have. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok.
So MediaVerse CU is for Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and we have a Facebook page that's Vigilante Vibes Podcast.
And I'll put the links to all of those in the show notes. So everybody definitely go check out
all of that. It's such a great community. I'm new to it and I already am reading posts in there every day. I'm definitely more of a lurker, but maybe, maybe I'll start posting eventually, but I love reading everything. And like last night, as soon as I finished Legion, I went to search the Facebook group to see if anybody had posts. I don't think I found any.
That should be your first. There you go. Start a
That's going to be
conversation.
you.
Oh, okay.
Gonna
I'm a
be
little
you.
shy. I'm a little shy, but okay.
You can always
do that.
post as anonymous too, if you're.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, anybody listening to this episode will now know it's me if you see an anonymous post in there about Legion.
There you go. That's the secret. So you're the insider now that you're listening.
All right. Well, again, thank you both so much for being here. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with our listeners?
Follow your
If you
dreams.
listen- I was going to say, if you listen to our podcast, give us 5 stars. But yeah, Max is beautiful too.
No, yes. Listen to our podcast, Vigilante Vibes, a Marvel podcast, available wherever you listen to podcasts. We just would love that. Thank you.
Yes. Listen to their podcasts, rate them 5 stars. And then I would also love if you can go and rate and review That Nerd Thing and also give this podcast 5 stars because this is a brand new podcast and ratings and reviews really do matter with getting the word out there. So I would greatly appreciate it. You can email me all of your nerdy thoughts at thatnerdthingpod@gmail.com. And you can follow the show on Instagram and TikTok at thatnerdthingpod. And please share the show with your nerdy friends. Send this episode to any of your friends who love Marvel because they might not be a part of this community and will be so excited to find Max and Megan. So again, thank you both for being here. It was so much fun, and I will see all of you next time. Bye.